Hi friends! If you click to check out the newest addition to the Sydney Grace eyeshadow palette family, Enduring Love, then please keep on watching. Hi, my name is Alicia. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves things all movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeup, you can head over to my Instagram. Finally, I received Enduring Love. I ordered this a couple of weeks back, but missed the first stock. It just flew by. In fact, it was maybe 2 minutes before the palette released on the website, and I got distracted, totally missed out, and by the time I went back and realized, it was gone. So I did a pre-order, and it finally shipped, I believe, maybe sometime last week, and I got it yesterday. I got the deep version. This palette does come in light and deep, and both palettes retail for $52. You get a total amount of 15 shadows. There are 2 grams each, so you get quite a bit of product on here. And this is a tin palette design with the magnetic closure. Here it is up close. You have the lace trimmings on the edges and corners, Enduring Love on the front, and you have Sydney Grace here on the back for the logo. Very different from the Autumn's Reign palette, which is cardboard with the magnetic closure, a mirror inside as well, and you see the pans in Autumn's Reign are circles and the ones here are squares. And the theme behind this palette is enduring love throughout history, different novels. So you have the couples here, right, side by side, and then you have what is involved with that relationship in terms of love, right? You got devotion, passion, you got cherish, and Robert and Deanna are the parents of Sydney Grace. So this is really nice in terms of outline. I can't talk today. I'm trying to be articulate, but it's just not working. Help me. And then you have Deanna and Robert, who are the parents of Sydney Grace. Very much had to be included in this palette of Enduring Love. We have swatches, friends, as well as comparison swatches with a lot of other Sydney Grace shadows that I have in my collection. I don't have all their singles, but I will compare the ones that I have. And we're using all the shadows today. As you know, I like to dive in deep. You know, all new palettes I use. I actually used this morning, and I'm very much impressed by what I have used so far. From the bat, I feel a lot of these shimmers or metallics, I'm not quite sure, and I was hoping they would have descriptions for the texture, finish, and also shades on the product profile, but they just have the couples and what books they came from, which is fine. I'll take care of it. I think there are a few metallics in here. They have a little bit of more shine. A few other product details. I believe this is made in the USA. It doesn't have it on the palette, and it is now available. It says add to cart. I think it's available right away as they got their orders in from the last stock. So if you want to check it out on the web, it's there for you to do so. Romeo and Juliet. John and Abigail. Excuse me, Albert and Victoria. Sorry, wrong couple. Now we have John. Oh, that is beautifully shiny. And Abigail, which I want to compare to Sovereign Ring that exists in the Autumn's Ring palette. Devotion, Passion, and Cherish. These are the 3 shades that cut right across the middle of the palette. Darcy and Elizabeth, Boaz and Ruth. And lastly, we have the Sydney Grace parentals, Robert and Deanna. I have to say, I'm very much loving this color story. It definitely leans overall cool. And I wanted to mention all the mattes are the shades that are different in the deep palette versus the light palette, but the other shades, all the metallic and the shimmers are the same in both palettes, but the differences exist in the matte shades, whereas the matte shades in the deep palette are a little richer in tone and undertone, also a little lighter in the light palette, as you might expect. But some people were saying that these are still not deep enough for deeper skin tones, that they still show up ashy. So definitely let your experience be known down below what your foundation shade is, if you have Enduring Love in the deep version, what you've experienced with that so far. Now, Abigail from Enduring Love reminds me very much of Sovereign Ring in Autumn's Ring. I actually swatched these last night, and I think Sovereign Ring is not as shiny And Juliet, or nope, sorry, wrong. Victoria, hello. Abigail, wasn't even close. Abigail has a lot more purple. I'm not sure if you can see that this base is a lot more purple and it has a lot more body to it texture wise. Whereas I feel Sovereign Rain is softer in texture. This has a lot more punch, again, in color and in finish. So although they look very similar on camera color wise, I could assure you they're different in terms of the finish, the experience of the texture, as well as the shade overall. I also wanted to swatch another purple that my friend Pam was so nice to send to me as a gift. This is in Deliverer. It's a pressed pigment, and I think this has a little more, is brighter, more vibrant. This is the shade here. So compared to the two purples here, I think this, although in the purple family, just another shade altogether, but could be quite lovely when paired with them. Another comparison that stood out from Enduring Love was Deanna, this olive shade here that reminded me of some of the olives found in the Mountain Trail bundle. So you see, this is more of a dirty olive shade. It has a lot more of a grungy feel to it, and I immediately thought of, let's see here, the Mountain Trail bundle that I have in my magnetic palette. This is the Niners here. All the rest are ColourPop singles. So from this, I would say the one that maybe closest to this has more of a brown hue. This is more lighter. I don't think any of these quite resemble Deanna in the slightest. They're either too light or too just another color altogether, if you ask me. I'm dipping into the palette that came out last spring, I feel. Let's see, I think even here as well, you're not going to have a lot of matches here. I feel Deanna is still stands alone as just its own unique shade. What else do we have? Well, Elizabeth could maybe look like something from the Raspberry Kiss bundle, but even so, I feel Raspberry Kiss still has too many, you guessed it, raspberry tones in there. I feel that don't really resemble that of, I am forgetting all these names today. Hello, Elizabeth. Ruth. Ruth could have been, let me see. Oh God. But no. Even the one from Autumn's Reign next to Deanna again, I think is very different. Autumn's Reign is definitely a lot more green, has a little more vibrancy than Deanna. In terms of the mattes, I will say the ones found in Autumn's Reign, as well as I think this might have been like a summer bundle. I don't quite remember. These actually are a lot more cooler in tone and remind me of the ones found in Enduring Love. This is Relax. I'll swatch that in a minute. And this one here is, oh God, Enjoy the Ride. So here's Relax, Enjoy the Ride. Victoria and Passion, I felt closely related to those mattes. So here's Victoria. Ooh, that's a little more taupier than Relax. Let's see what Passion looks like. Passion is a lot more light gray than Enjoy the Ride. And Cherish, I think, is maybe more brown. Let's see here. Or not even. This is another color altogether. So although from the pans they look similar, the ones in Enduring Love are a lot cooler in nature. If you want to check out Nature's Crown from Autumn's Reign, oh, I'm so sorry. This is, that's more like a wheat color. Definitely, I feel more neutral in tone than cooler in undertone. Trying to think about more comparisons here. This is a lot warmer and I feel like gem tone than what exists in Enduring Love, as you can see. Although there might be similarities, I feel when you combine these colors together, you get a different feel in terms of color story than you get from Autumn's Reign. I think because of the inclusion of these red and plums, definitely steer this color story warmer, more gem tone than what exists in Enduring Love. My apologies, we could also do Robert from Enduring Love, as well as the brown that exists in Autumn's Reign. Golden Wheat, I think, is gonna be lighter than Robert. Yeah, this has a little more depth than Golden Wheat. So there you go. All right, friends, I already have MAC's Soft Ochre on my eyes. I switched primers because doing multi-look videos with a primer that's just easier to apply than the ABH makes it a lot more seamless experience for moi. Hope you don't mind. But yeah, let's zoom in and start with these looks. Now, I could go about this in several ways. I could go by row, I could go by column, I could go by quad. Although I'll use all 15 shades, I think I'm going to start across, maybe use 3 or 4 shadows at a time. This eye, then we'll switch. Ultimately, I just want you to see how they all perform and how they all appear on the lids. And you could go about this how any way you like, and hopefully this will offer up some inspiration if you also have enduring love. Juliette with my Way number 3. First shade going in appears to be a pinky, actually like a rose, which I rather love. I love these tones of mattes as a transition shade. Offers up a soft, rosy look. And you could actually just use this as one color across the crease and lid. And I find these mattes to have a little more punch than the ones found in Autumn's Ring. They are on the dustier side. These are very soft. Nothing to be too concerned about, but if you don't like kickback in your pan, just be careful with how you punch your brush in there. I think that's fairly smooth. I love the color, I love the tone, and good to know that it shows up a little more pinky on the skin than how it appears in pan. But this is what we're dealing with in terms of kickback in the pan, friends, so just be wary of that. I found it was best to go in with Devotion with a finger. This packs, look at the shine on that. This is a great shade. I'm placing that on the center of my lid. This is definitely more foiled than the shimmers found in Autumn's Ring. Look at that. That's really nice shine. I tried applying this with a brush, but I was unsuccessful as I feel the finger's gonna pick up more pigment and just successfully press it into the skin, whereas you could get fallout from using a brush with this shade. Taking more Juliette with my Wayne brush, just sweeping the excess foil shadow that I had in my crease and just smoothing that application out. Romeo, on the other hand, Esom W23 is not as flaky as Devotion and actually is a little deeper in color, so I certainly could have applied this on the lid and then Devotion on the inner corner instead. But I don't know, I really like Romeo as an inside or inner lid moment. I think it, it mixes with everything quite well. And I wanted Devotion to be on the majority of the lid. Taking Juliette with the same brush, that matte shade under the lash line. Sweeping so that's smooth. Devotion with my S31 Esom pencil brush. Easier to apply with the brush on a smaller portion of the eye than I feel the lid. And I'm mixing Devotion and Romeo together for my inner corner highlight. So that is the first look, definitely rosy in nature and in feel. What do we think? Next, we're going in with Victoria with my Esom G34. And I'm gonna get that in the crease. This is definitely a lot cooler in undertone. Definitely has more of a taupier brown feel. And I'm building this up and fluffing it out. This will, well, I don't know, we have another one we can try on here. But I feel actually this color by itself on my skin tone packs a little bit of a punch. You can go in with the lighter shade before this if you like, but I feel if you have a stiffer brush, you can move around the shadow successfully enough that it looks diffused by the end. If you want, you could pat down a little more shadow on the outer part of the lid to create more of a contrast there, and then it looks more diffused throughout the rest of the crease. And I'm using the brush to just diffuse the edges here. I like that color a lot all by itself. I really love the tone of it, and despite the fact that it is cooler in nature, the actual shade is quite beautiful. Now we could have went with Cherish, that is right next to Victoria. I could have went in with that first, but let's see how it does just at like the very edges of the shade. I'm gonna lightly dust it on the edge of Victoria, see what that does. I feel you could use this shade to fluff it out if you wanted. It definitely made it cooler in tone, which I like, I'm not gonna lie. Now, Albert, although it looks silver, there's something else in here. I was looking at this under the bathroom light at work this morning. There's like a duochrome situation. I don't quite know what it is, but this is a beautiful shade. I'm patting it down. See how there's like a blue something going on in there? I don't know what it is, but it has the most beautiful twinkle. I'm using my G34 to brush away some of that shadow away from my crease because I was a little haphazard in that application. Excuse me, I meant to say the grayer shade, grayer matte Passion. Hard to read from the camera, but I'm putting that more in the crease just to smooth out the foil shade. My reference number 14 with Victoria, just patting more on the outer V, taking that on the lower lash line. Now, John is a major shade, but I am putting this on the inner lower half because I think paired with this gunmetal-y, dare I say, you know what, I lied. It's more like a lavender. It's like a lavender steel gray. That's what I'm getting anyway. All right, friends, let's slap on these lashes and I'll be right back. Finished look up close on the lashes. I have Ardell Naked Lashes in 424. You can see we have a distinctly rosy look on this eye, something more steely and cool on this eye. And here are the lids up close. On the lips, I have Natasha Denona's lip liner in L6, topped with Visear's Moisture Boost Lip Shine in Fleur, with Natasha's Lip Euphoria in Nude. I love the fact that these two looks are vastly different, but all the colors exist in one palette. This is definitely more rosy in tone. I think perfect for spring, very lightweight in terms of feel and in color story. And this is more smoky, more metallic in nature. And I just love this color. Albert is an amazing shade and definitely has a lot more shine than I found in Autumn's Ring. It has a lot more sparkle, a little more dazzle in there. Isn't that gorgeous? I think it's just a beautiful shade that again has a little something going on in there. That's all I'm saying. And this is beautiful as well. I think it has a beautiful pink feel to it and the sparkles are lovely on this lid as well. Hope you enjoyed these two looks, and with that said, let's move on to the next two. See you in a bit. Let's go into Passion now all by itself. Using my Isom G34 for that application. Yeah, definitely more taupey in nature. And actually, I feel this shows up deeper on lid than how it appears on pan. Ooh, that's nice. We could go in with Cherish on the outer corner, or we could go in Victoria, but I want to go in with Boaz. Isom S33, gonna pat that down first. Boaz packs a punch, I feel. That got smoky really quickly. I feel it quite soft, and I'm not doing much swirling as you see. I'm doing more patting and pulling, swiping as well, and then I will start to swirl and twirl when I get here, and that will then diffuse the pigments further, and I'll start to take it out to that little V. I thought that was quite easy to apply, don't you think, friends? Taking a little bit of more passion on the edges of Boaz, but just adding a little more blend. Well, ain't that just nice? Stupendous. Definitely going in with Abigail. I want to see how Abigail applies with the brush. Isom W23. Oh, much better. I feel you're more successful with this texture versus the ones that they're a little more foiled and definitely have more texture to them. Those I feel you should apply with a finger, whereas this one here is beautifully smooth and I did not get any fallout from that application. I'm using the tip of the brush to just carve in and around the crease so that could appear seamless between Boaz and Abigail. Victoria, I don't know, so many names. Patting down more of the Boaz on the outer edges of Victoria. I want to apply something. Well, first of all, let me blend this out because hello. I want to apply something on the inner corner. Hold on. I could go in with Devotion. I could go in with Ruth. You know, I want to go in with John. I think that'll be such a beautiful combination. I'm gonna press down the inner part of the lid. Bring it up slightly. Ooh, maybe I brought it up too much. I'm gonna whisk it down. I keep saying Victoria. This is Abigail. Hello? Patting down a little more Abigail so I could look a little more cohesive. Cool, that's pretty. Taking Abigail on my same Refer number 2 brush, but now on the center of my lower lash line. Refer number 13 with Cherish, that gray matte shade across the lower lash line. Boaz, same brush on the outer third of the lower lash line. Romeo on the lower inner third. I know that's like a total right turn from what's happening cool wise here, but I feel like this is what I want to do, friends. I'm sorry. I think that's such a nice escape from the cool, overall cool feel of the lid, but then all of a sudden you got Romeo involved. It's like, oh, that's what we're doing. I'm taking more of John on the inner part of the lid, but I'm tapping carefully so as to not bring it up higher than that, because I don't want that to look too gray. I mean, it already does. It's fine. I would have much rather it appear more purple, but that was my fault. Definitely want to try Darcy, that rosier, deeper rosier, your pink, hello words, this color. And again with my Isom G34. The reason I insist on using this brush is because overall I feel these mattes are on the softer side. And with that, I think a stiffer bristled brush is more successful in moving around these pigments just faster overall than my softer blender brushes. And this actually packs quite the punch. This is just my second time going in, and I'm using the brush to gently pull out that Darcy shade. If you wanted to layer another matte, I could take Juliet with a way softer brush. This is my Tuckahoe Z11 brush. This is Blue Squirrel, and you see it's going to have a softer application, but will beautifully layer the two shadows. Because if I use my G34 over Darcy with Juliet, I feel it would have moved around that deeper pink too much. This finesses it over perfectly. Layers the shades. If you want another pinky type of shade from this palette to pair with Darcy, I think Juliet goes so nicely with it. Elizabeth with my W23, putting that on the majority of the lid, and I wanted to pair the two purples together so you can see how cool this looks, especially since we applied it with the black and the cooler matte shade. And just so you can see, depending on the matte you choose to pair with said foil or metallic or shimmer shade will determine the overall feel. So this is significantly warmer than this. Although they're purples, or I should say magenta, they're different undertones altogether. Now we could keep it like this. If you wanted a little more depth, we can see how Robert does. I'm taking my Isom S33 and I'm tapping down just on the outer portion of the lid. And then from there, I'll start to pull it into the crease and then slowly finessing it into that point and pulling it in over Elizabeth. Not too bad at all. So if you wanted it to look more exclusively rosy, you could have just kept the deeper pink shade on the outer corner and crease. If you wanted more depth, you could go in with Robert, or you could go in with Boaz, the black shade we apply on this eye. But I thought the brown would have been a nice touch with the warmer plum. Taking a little more Darcy, just a little bit, just finessing both shades together. Taking Devotion. This is a little tricky to apply, I feel, with the brush, but let's see how it goes. This definitely has a lot more texture, I feel, than the other shades. Elizabeth on the outer third, tapping Robert on Elizabeth so it could look more connected from bottom to top lash line. Pulling Devotion closer to my inner corner, and then pulling Elizabeth more over Devotion so it could look more seamless. Inner corner, well, we could go several ways. The lightest shade is John and Romeo, and even Devotion. Let's just stick with Devotion and apply that on the inner corner as well. Definitely taking a smaller pencil brush for that application, and tapping as well to control the pigment overall so it doesn't spread too wide. Taking a little bit of Juliet on the inner part of my lid and just nudging that together with Elizabeth and Darcy. All right, so let's slap on some lashes and I'll be right back. Here's a closer look. We have the same lashes on, Ardell Naked Lashes 424 on the lid. And here are both looks using the different shimmers and mattes. I also applied a little more devotion on the greater half of my inner corner just to layer it on top of the plum shimmer shade because I just wanted more of a gradient look. And also I wanted to show my pencils that I applied. On this eye I have Zhao from the Linda Crayon Metallic Collection. I forgot which one it was. Fenty Beauty's Fly Pencil Liner in Purple Stuff. On this here, on the, what is this? The waterline? The rim? I forgot. And Ori Flash on the waterline on this eye. On the lips, I have Natasha Denona's lip liner again in L6, topped with her I Need a New lipstick in the shade Noah with her lip Euphoria in the shade Mauve. I am really happy with Boaz. I don't know what I was expecting, but I thought this was very easy to apply and it practically blended itself. I feel if you have the right shaped brush and design, you could tap Boaz easily on the outer corner if you wish to apply it in that way. You could probably use it to create a smoky lash line with it. Why not? You could apply it on the whole entirety of your lid for a lot more depth and smoke for that look. I thought this was very easy to achieve as well. I thought Robert is a great way to go smoky without having to use something more black. Now, is this the blackest black I've ever used? I think depending on the matte you pair it with, you saw since we paired it with Passion, it had a little more of a gray tone, which I like, right? I didn't want it to just look exclusively black on my outer corner. I wanted it to fit well into the purple shade here, Victoria Abigail, I'm sorry, I keep confusing you two. I thought that was a great pairing, and to apply, well, you know what? I think, did we apply John? We applied John, but Albert would have been really nice on the inner part of the lid, I'm thinking too. I forgot what we did. My memory is failing me, friends. Really happy with how these two looks came out. Now really excited to actually get into Ruth and Deanna. So let's take this off and I'll see you back here in a bit. Cherish with my Esam G34. Setting up for Deanna, which is this beautiful olive in here. I just can't wait to finally dip in. Third time dipping in. Okay. Grab with my Wayne Goss number 6. Tapping down the outer V right over Cherish. And I find that Robert, although looks, more neutral in the pan, it definitely applies cooler on the lid. But I feel that was fairly easy to apply. I didn't do much at all. I tapped right on that matte and it's diffusing itself practically. Finally, in with Deanna with my W23. I cannot wait. Yes. Oh, you know what this could remind me of, or it does? Wicked Envy from Pat's Midnight Sun. But I believe Midnight Sun has gold flecks in it. That is such a beautiful shade. It's beautifully smoky. If you want to quickly see, this is Wicked Envy from Mama Pat, and this is Deanna from Sydney Grace. So Sydney Grace is a little deeper in tone. Mama Pat's Wicked Envy is a little more olive. And Wicked Envy has the gold strewn through the metallic base, whereas I think this is exclusively all metallic. They're both gorgeous. Look at that, so pretty. I feel the one from Sydney Grace is a little more brown in undertone as well. I want to go in with Albert. I don't know if that's going to be a good idea, but we're going to go forward with it. With my Hakuhoro J242 onto the inner part of the lid, tapping over Deanna. I totally applied too much on the brush, but it's all good. Taking more Deanna right on top of that steel shade. Taking Cherish with my Esam S33 and gently, ever so gently, smoothing out the edges of those shades. I'm going in with my finger with Deanna because I want that to take up the majority of the lid. But I like Albert there. I think it's a pretty combination. Deanna on the lower lash line. Cherish with, what is this called again? I forgot. My W36. I think it's a nice blend out shade for Deanna. A little bit of Robert on the outer part of the lower lash line. Devotion inner lower third as well as the inner corner. I could have went with John. This one here. I could have done that, but I went in with Devotion instead. Hello. Because I don't know. I just like mixing cool and warm. Now, I've been going in with the mattes first for this entire time, so why don't we mix it up? W23 with Ruth. I want to start with this shade first, just on the lid. Wow, that's beautiful. Great color richness and shine. These definitely have a lot more creaminess to them than the ones found in Autumn's Rain, I feel. They have a lot more body, a lot more shine. I'm gonna leave it like that because now I'm gonna go in with Victoria and just brush through the edges here and use that shade to transition from metallic to matte. Start to bring it higher, closer to the brow bone. Although we covered a little bit of Ruth, I'm not too concerned because then we'll just go in with that color again to fill up closer to the crease. Taking my W21 brush and with the pull down application here, I'm just pulling it down closer on the lid, but I don't want it to go too high. Cleaning up the inner part of my lid as well. Definitely going in with Albert, that lavender gray. Patting it down on the inner part of the lid. Just mixing them together. Ruth on the center-ish. Albert on the inner part as well. Why not? Let's just do the whole shebang. Victoria on the outer. I still have that plum shade like lingering. It's okay. I'm tapping Ruth more on the outer part of the lid so it could look connected. Victoria with my W36 to just zhuzh everything together. A tree of flash on my waterline. And then what can we do over here? Olive. Vega flash on this waterline. All right, friends, let's slap on these lashes and I'll be right back. Back in close with the same Ardell lashes in 424, the Naked Lash Edition. And hopefully you can see how beautifully both textures, both matte and shimmer, metallic shimmer, I really don't know, blended together. And I'm really happy with the color combinations of the shadows we use for these two looks. And on the lower lash line, I applied Linda's crayon in a tree of flash on this eye and Vega flash on this eye. I'll be sure to put all the crayons that I use for all looks down below in the description box. And here's a wide shot of both looks. I have the same lip combo from the last two looks, except I just applied more of Natasha's Lip Euphoria gloss in mauve. I really am happy with how these two looks came out, and it was when I was doing these two looks that I really appreciated the cool tones of the mattes. Now, while I understand these are very closely related in terms of shade, I know when you see them initially, you might wonder why did they put two shades that are very similar, but you see they are different. Although they look more similar in pan, I feel they swatch very differently and apply differently as well on the lids. And I think they're there because depending on how you want to steer your look, undertone wise, feel wise, mood wise, will determine the matte. And I truly believe they wanted these two in here. They insisted that they be in here. The only suggestion that I would probably say is if they wanted to replace one of these matte, that maybe they would have went with more of an olive tone matte. But that's the only thing. I trust they're there for a reason, and I rather loved all of them when I applied them, not only with these two metallic shades but the others as well. I actually rather love the metallics here better than in Sovereign Rain, although I appreciate Sovereign Rain's metallic, or shimmers rather, excuse me, their mobility across the skin, how easy they are to apply as a standout lid color, and also how they are when blended throughout the crease. I like that these have a little more punch. They have a little more shine. They're a little tighter in texture as well. They're not as fluid, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because when you start blending these out or when you pack them on, they just have more color richness and vibrancy to them, I feel, overall. These shades, Devotion, Albert, and John, have the most sparkle to them, definitely. I think you are more successful when applying these textures with the finger than you are with these shades here alongside this one as well, and also Romeo you could get away with a brush application with not too much fallout. But if you want minimal fallout with those three shades, I would suggest a finger application. I was very pleased with the mattes overall. Definitely most impressed with Boaz. That was perhaps the easiest black black in a long time I had blending with, and I definitely attribute it to my brushes as well. And I noticed how soft they were this morning because I used my Hakuhodo, I can't find it right now, but it's my J146, the Esom brushes, the S33 as well as the G34. They have a little more stiffness to them, and because these mats are very soft, I feel you'll be more successful with a stiffer brush with these textures than you would with a softer brush. Now, it's not so much you can't make it happen with a soft blender brush. I feel you might be tapping into your pan more times than you would if you're using a stiffer brush, a stiffer bristled brush. So that's just, keep that in mind. That has been my experience when using two types of brushes from this morning and during this demonstration. Great application experience as I just described, but I also really love the curation here. I think this is a really overall great color story. I definitely love that overall is cool tone, but it's still colorful. I really appreciate the color choices included here, that there's still an earthiness about it. And granted, yes, these might be the two brightest shades out of the mix, but I feel these shades, although neutral because they're metal shades, I still feel add character to whatever other shades you decide to pair them with. And I'm a fan. I'm definitely a fan of these colors. Perhaps the warmest color is Darcy, but I feel it pairs so beautifully with Elizabeth. I think these two are great. You could also use that shade with Devotion. You could use that shade with Romeo if you wanted Romeo as your standout lid shade. I did not apply Romeo as a standout lid shade during this demonstration, but you can totally get away with that combination. Or even this shade here, you could probably use this shade in combination with John. Or even Abigail. Abigail is the cooler purple out of the two. You can definitely see how that works out. So I feel the possibilities are endless, but I'm happy that overall the mattes are cool because I prefer a cooler matte with a turquoise type of blue metallic moment. I prefer it. I don't like my browns leaning warm when I'm applying them with a blue shade or even like an olive shade. I like that it's cool tone because I feel that just makes the blue stand out even more so, and it doesn't look so disjointed. I feel when blues like this, if people feel afraid to go in with the blue exclusively by itself or with a blue matte, that they tend to go in with a warm brown so they could feel more comfortable with the application process. I much rather pair this type of blue with the cooler shade. I feel it just makes the blue stand out more. I feel overall it just looks smokier and seamless to me. Everyone's different in terms of their color choice and application choice, but I really love the cooler mattes in here for sure. I felt this color story was more approachable than Autumn's Reign for some reason. I don't know why, even though a lot of the shades in here are similar. I guess it's because with the cooler mattes, it just allows the eye to I don't know. I feel like this just was just easier to navigate for me in terms of creating different combinations and such. The texture of the shadows are outrageously gorgeous. Blending them was beyond easy. I find the type of brush definitely helps, but we explained that already. And yes, I'm overall very happy to have this. If you haven't tried Sydney Grace and you're looking to dive in, I think the Enduring Love palette is a great way to start, place to start. If you're a singles person and rather buy the singles to create your own color story, then I'm totally with you on that. But I like palettes. I like palettes to be put together for me, or if not the palette, just bundles, if you will. And I'm really happy with Enduring Love. I think it's a hit. It definitely is a hit. For those cool tone people that wanted more cooler tones, yes, even though with the inclusion of that one warm pinky matte, and I feel a lot of the metal shades, with the exception of Elizabeth and Ruth, those turquoise and plummy metallics, I think those are warm, but everything else is pretty cool in tone, and I really like that a lot. So let me know, friends, if you grabbed Enduring Love, what your experience has been with it so far, your favorite looks, your favorite shades, and until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I'll see you on here again with another tutorial review, get ready with me, or Friday night chit chat. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.